America's retail system is collapsing right in front of us. In just the first half of 2025, over 7,000 store closures have been confirmed, double last year's pace. Chains you grew up with? Gone. Big names like Walmart, Walgreens, and Macy's are pulling out of cities, suburbs, even entire states. Theft is costing retailers over $112 billion a year. Inflation has destroyed profit margins, and rents are up 20% nationwide. Even Amazon is shutting down physical stores. When the giants start falling, you know something's seriously wrong. So today, we're counting down the 15 biggest retailers closing down stores all over America. No brand is safe. And by the time we get to number 1, you'll realize this isn't a retail crisis. This is an economic alarm. Let's get into it. 15. Let's begin with Gap, a brand that once felt like the uniform of the urban middle class. Now countless outlets are getting shuttered, leases are being non-renewed, and the signage that used to read "Everybody in a Gap jean" is quietly being taken down. What most people don't realize, Gap's issue isn't just stiff competition and online commerce. It's a profound mismatch between its fixed-cost retail footprint and a consumer base that's changed fast. Foot traffic is reported to be down 30–40% in many malls, while online sales haven't scaled high margin enough to cover the overhead. Overall, the U.S. retail environment is forecast to lose up to 15,000 stores in 2025 alone. For Gap specifically, the high rents, legacy leases signed in boom years, and the decline of the mall anchor model all converge. In smaller markets, a closed Gap means a de-anchored mall, which means less traffic for all other stores around it. The ripple effect is grand. If you live in a suburban town where the Gap used to draw Saturday shoppers from 50 miles around, that draw is vanishing. And when consumers begin to just shop online or only visit a dozen superstores, the dozens of mid-tier bricks and mortar chains become collateral damage. So yes, Gap isn't simply closing some stores. It's symptomatic of the ecosystem collapsing. The anchor store that used to bring in 1,000 people a day is now cutting back. And that means empty parking lots, exhausted mall management, and a retail real estate hangover. When the sign goes dark at Gap, it's not just a brand fading, it's a community's shopping rhythm dying. 14. Sears, Kmart. You remember Sears and Kmart, the mega department stores that spanned small towns and big cities alike. Once the hub of do-it-all under one roof, they are now ghosts of their former selves. Here's something many overlook. Their store model was built on high-margin lines, tools, appliances, lawn equipment, that required large footprints, high inventory, heavy staffing. Flip the script to 2025. Appliances sold online, lawn equipment shipped direct, and fewer people wandering department store corridors. According to research, the square footage expected to close in the U.S. in 2025 is already 120+ million SQFT, outpacing openings by over 1.5x. Sears and Kmart have thousands of leases signed in boom decades, and breaking or renegotiating them is costly. In smaller towns, their closure means the everything store is gone, and no replacement steps in. Add to that the macro stresses. Inflation meaning fewer discretionary purchases, theft and shrinkage rising in department stores, competition from e-commerce giants, and legacy costs still being paid. So when we see Sears closing yet another dozen stores, it isn't isolated. It's a collapse of the concept. Big box, general merchandise, in-person browsing. And nobody tells you the silent logical implosion. Customers who used to buy a fridge, rake, and a jacket at Sears on one trip now spread those buys across Amazon, Walmart, and specialized online sites, meaning fewer store visits, fewer impulse buys, fewer people sticking around the mall. The closure of Sears and Kmart outlets doesn't just remove storefronts. It evaporates a retail ecosystem that once had dozens of supporting businesses around it. 13. Bed Bath & Beyond. Once the go-to for every home, dorm, wedding registry, and kitchen upgrade. The backlog of closures is brutal. Here's what's not widely known. The home goods category was hit on 3 fronts simultaneously. Inflation eroded discretionary spending. Online retailers outfastered traditional boxes. And supply chain disruptions plus inventory mismanagement left stores stuffed with unsold goods while consumers paused big purchases. Analysts estimate that by mid-2025, over 2,000 closures of U.S. stores have been announced, and many belonging to chains like Bed Bath & Beyond. In practical terms, when a Bed Bath & Beyond closes a 50,000 SQFT store in a mid-sized city, the vacancy doesn't just hurt that brand. It affects the adjacent co-tenants, the parking traffic, the lunchtime restaurants, even the cinema across the lot. The home goods shopper is tuned to value and convenience. When rent spikes 20%, wages rise, and online shows up with free delivery, the physical store found itself caught between high cost and low yield. And when inventory sits and markdowns escalate, margin evaporates fast. The other obscured truth: many corporate executives anticipated this shift after leases were locked in, making closures less of an option and more of a necessity, which means job losses, liquidation sales, and communities losing yet another anchor. For you, yes, it means we're not just counting closures. We're logging the dismantling of what used to be a predictable retail rhythm. Buy home stuff on a weekend, wander aisles, bump into neighbors. That rhythm is gone. Bed Bath & Beyond isn't just closing stores, it's erasing memories, patterns, and consumer behaviors. 12. Rite Aid. Rite Aid isn't just closing stores, it's bleeding out in public, one prescription at a time. In 2024, Rite Aid filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. By 2025, over 600 stores across the U.S. are slated for permanent closure. But this isn't just another pharmacy down the drain. It's a corporate disaster, layered with lawsuits, opioid scandals, and retail irrelevance. Rite Aid's total liabilities? Over $8.6 billion. They've been sued by multiple state governments over their role in fueling the opioid crisis. Legal fees alone are now consuming what little cash flow remains. But here's the part that doesn't make headlines. When Rite Aid closes in a neighborhood, that often leaves a healthcare dead zone. Low-income communities lose one of their only access points to affordable medication. Elderly patients who rely on proximity? They're forced to drive 20-30 miles or shift to delivery systems they don't know how to navigate. Meanwhile, the numbers don't lie. Prescription revenues are down 13%, front-end sales are plummeting, and theft in urban stores has doubled since 2021. Rite Aid was once the third largest pharmacy chain in America. Today, many of its locations are being auctioned off to Walgreens and CVS just to stay afloat. The saddest part? Even that isn't enough. In 2025, reports show Rite Aid is considering exiting entire states, California, Pennsylvania, Michigan, all on the chopping block. Their stores are now half-stocked, understaffed, and wrapped in store-closing banners like tombstones. If CVS and Walgreens are struggling, Rite Aid is circling the drain. This isn't just the closure of a pharmacy, it's the slow-motion death of community health access. And no one stepping in to replace it. 11. This one hurts in a different way. Party City, the place where birthdays, Halloween, weddings, baby showers all started, is going quiet. Balloons deflating, shelves stripped of decorations, signs that say, "Everything must go." That's the scene playing out in over 120 stores across 2025, following the company's bankruptcy filing last year. But let's be clear, Party City didn't just lose to Amazon. It lost to a cultural shift. During the pandemic, people stopped throwing big parties, and even after the restrictions lifted, the spending didn't return. Families are dealing with inflation, rising rents, medical debt. That $350 birthday bash is now a backyard cake and a homemade banner. The numbers back it up. Consumer spending on party goods is down 26% compared to pre-2020 levels. Online party supply sellers, many operating out of China, now offer themed kits for half the price and ship them in 48 hours. Party City's brick-and-mortar business model just couldn't compete. Their typical store layout? Over 10,000 square feet. Most of it filled with items people now click to order or skip entirely. Even worse, balloon helium shortages and rising import. Tariffs on plastic goods have turned their margins razor thin. And you probably didn't hear this. Party City's commercial leases are based on seasonal highs. When Halloween or graduation season underperforms, they lose money for the rest of the year. As of spring 2025, dozens of Party City locations are being liquidated, their fixtures sold to discount chains and dollar stores. What used to be a stop for joy, costumes, celebration, now looks like an abandoned warehouse of forgotten holidays. This isn't just a retailer fading out. It's a sign that middle-class celebration culture is shrinking, and no one's throwing a party for its funeral. 10. Luxury once had a heartbeat in malls. It was called Nordstrom. White floors, designer handbags, tailored suits, shoe departments like cathedrals. But in 2025, the upscale icon is slashing its footprint in ways that would have been unthinkable a decade ago. This year alone, 20-plus Nordstrom and Nordstrom Rack stores are being closed, and that number is rising quarter by quarter. Why? Because the luxury department store model has collapsed under its own weight. Nordstrom's average store size exceeds 140,000 square feet. Some even double that. That means rent exceeding $90,000 a month, utilities that cost more than a full-time salary, and maintenance fees that have soared 40% since 2020. But here's the killer stat. In-store foot traffic is down 47% from 2019. That's a death sentence when your entire experience is built around showrooming. More brutal? Their online business isn't picking up the slack. Sites like Farfetch, Revolve, and direct-to-consumer luxury brands have sliced Nordstrom's digital sales growth to nearly zero in 2025. And their loyalty base, wealthy boomers and suburban professionals, are aging out or tightening their spending. A new pair of Gucci loafers doesn't look so attractive when interest rates hit 7% and the stock market is wobbling. Internally, Nordstrom has tried survival tactics, shutting down all Canadian stores, cutting back in high-crime urban locations, laying off hundreds. But it's not enough. They're getting hit from all sides. Rising theft, eroding margins, online competition, and a luxury shopper who's moved on to minimalist, direct-shipped, influencer-endorsed alternatives. The high-end gloss is gone. What's left? Empty escalators, quiet perfume counters, clearance racks where elegance used to live. Nordstrom isn't just closing stores. It's closing an era where retail was an experience, not just a transaction. 9. Kohl's. Kohl's used to feel like the suburban shopping ritual, kids dragging their feet through the jigsaw aisles, mom clipping coupons, dad browsing electronics. But now, Kohl's is scrambling to keep the lights on. The reasons run far deeper than just another store closing. For one, foot traffic has cratered. Multiple analysts show visits down by nearly 45% at many mall-based Kohl's locations when compared to 2019 levels. Meanwhile, average spend per transaction has dropped. Many mid-income families are now survival shopping, not browsing for nice-to-haves. Kohl's faces skyrocketing fixed costs, rents signed in boom years, 140,000-plus SQFT store formats that struggle to be profitable amid digital competition. Add in rising shrinkage, theft, plus loss, which has surged 27% in department-style stores, and you've got a margin squeezed from both sides. Kohl's tried to pivot. They merged with exclusive branded stands, Sephora inside store, tested smaller format Kohl's on your side stores, offered more delivery pickup options, but nothing offset the main issue. Consumers buying less, online doing better, and high-cost, underperforming stores dragging the enterprise down. Locals may not realize this. When Kohl's closes a suburban anchor, it isn't just one store shutting, it ripples. The mall's food court loses traffic. The neighboring service stores lose lunch guests. Parking lots shrink. That structural damage doesn't appear on the quarterly report, but it shows up in long-term viability. Kohl's closing stores isn't merely cost-cutting, it's the pulling of a foundational support beam from the middle-class shopping structure. When a family can't afford the sale price anymore, the sale model collapses. 8. Dollar General. When the ultra-discount chain starts closing locations, it's not just business as usual. It's a societal alarm. Dollar General built its empire by serving small towns and lower-income Americans, places other big retailers abandoned. But in 2025, Even DG is recalibrating. They've announced plans to shutter around 140 stores that are challenging to the model, while simultaneously opening new ones. But the closures tell us as much as the openings. The issue? The cost pressures are immense. Wages have climbed 22%, freight and fuel costs up 18%, and organized retail crime in value retail chains has exploded, some reporting shrinkage up by 30% since 2022. For a retailer whose margin is razor-thin and whose customers are being squeezed by inflation, that's a lethal combination. The value narrative is undercut when customers have to decide between groceries and household goods. And when groceries eat all disposable income, discount patio furniture or novelty household items go missing. In rural communities where DG might be one of the few stores around, the closure of a store is more than shopping inconvenience. It becomes a blow to local convenience, employment, and community rhythm. The new openings mask the fact that many of the legacy stores are unprofitable, bound by old leases, and serving shrinking spend populations. When a chain that thrives on cheap convenience starts pulling back, you know the economic base it served is eroding. Dollar General closing stores isn't just a cost adjustment, it's evidence that low-end retail growth is running out of runway. 7. For anyone who fixed their own car, this one hits personally. Advance Auto Parts, with its thousands of stores, is pulling back massively. Why? Because the very nature of auto parts retail is changing, and fast. They announced they will close 523 corporate-owned stores and exit over 200 independent locations as part of a strategic pivot. That's not just about sluggish sales, it's about structural obsolescence. The shift to electric vehicles, EVs, means fewer parts to change, fewer belt replacements, fewer filters, fewer traditional maintenance opportunities. When the bread and butter of your store model goes away, you're forced into retrench. Add to that the fact that online auto parts sales, especially via giants like Amazon, now command almost 60% of the market growth, further eating into what used to be guaranteed store traffic. Inventory write-offs reported by Advance exceeded $110 million, and sales per square foot have dropped from $170 5 years ago to under $120 in some markets. The legacy store count model with big footprints, heavy staffing, large inventories, it's built for a world of cars that break in predictable ways. That world is ending. What's more, mechanics and mom-and-pop fix shops are shifting to online suppliers at lower cost, meaning fewer trade customers walking into Advance stores. This isn't just closing a few underperformers. It's a whole damn business model re-scripting itself. For you as a viewer and for towns where these stores stand, when Advance Auto Parts shuts down, it's not just fewer places to buy a spark plug. It's fewer jobs, fewer service ecosystems, fewer community fix habits. The era of DIY car maintenance being anchored in big box retail is fading. 6. Joann Fabrics. Joann Fabrics wasn't just a craft store, it was a cultural icon. For decades, it was where creativity bloomed. Quilters, costume designers, DIY moms, Etsy entrepreneurs, they all started with Joann. But in 2025, that fabric of small-town America is fraying. After filing for bankruptcy twice in under a year, Joann confirmed the closure of 530 stores, with insiders warning that number could rise if restructuring fails. What most people don't realize is that Joann's collapse is a warning shot for the entire hobby and crafting industry. Their revenue model relied on regular in-store visits, impulse buys, and big seasonal swings, Halloween, back to school, holiday decor. But consumer behavior has shifted hard. Inflation has gutted discretionary spending. When eggs cost $6 and utilities skyrocket, nobody's dropping $200 on fabric, glitter, and Mod Podge. Online platforms like Amazon and Temu now offer massive craft kits shipped fast and cheap. Joann couldn't keep up, especially in supply chain logistics. Add in sky-high rent on their warehouse-sized locations, theft up 30%, and foot traffic down 40%. And you've got a formula for collapse. Even the crafting boom during lockdown didn't last. Sales tapered off by 2023, and inventory gluts turned into clearance graveyards. Joann isn't just closing stores, it's shutting down lifelines for small creators, educators, and side hustlers across America. The real heartbreak? In many towns, Joann was the only fabric store left. Its closures mean the death of access, of inspiration, of independence for the DIY crowd. When creativity gets priced out, when community spaces vanish, what are we left with? The silence of a shuttered store, and the ghost of what we used to make with our own two hands. 5. 7-Eleven. It sounds crazy, right? 7-Eleven, the brand so American it might as well come with fireworks and a Slurpee, is shutting down stores at a pace that's genuinely shocking. In 2025, the company confirmed it will permanently close 444 stores across North America, with more potentially on the chopping block depending on Q4 earnings. But why? Because even convenience isn't convenient anymore. Think about this. For decades, 7-Eleven dominated the unplanned purchase. You stopped for a drink, a scratcher, batteries, maybe milk at 2 a.m. But now, everything you used to grab on impulse is available cheaper, faster, and delivered. DoorDash, Amazon Fresh, and mobile coffee orders are draining 7-Eleven's foot traffic like a hole in a bucket. Revenues per store have dropped below $1.4 million, the lowest they've been in 15 years. But that's just the tip of the melted Slurpee. The cost side is a bloodbath. Labor up 19%, utility bills up 28%, insurance premiums for 24-hour stores tripled due to rising crime. And crime is the dirty secret no one wants to talk about. Armed robberies, vandalism, and coordinated theft waves are crushing the franchise model. Some owners report losses of $40,000, $60,000 per year, even while staying open round the clock. That's not sustainable. And while corporate tries to pivot, self-checkouts, smaller stores, international expansion, it's not enough to save the urban and suburban U.S. locations being gutted. The tragedy? These weren't just convenience stores. In many neighborhoods, 7-Eleven was the only 24/7 option, the only source for diapers, aspirin, snacks, or gas at 3 a.m. Their closures leave gaps that other retailers can't or won't fill. This isn't just about Slurpees. It's about the death of round-the-clock access for the working class. And that's a loss we'll feel every single night. 4. Macy's. The parade, the flagship store, the century-old icon, is rapidly retreating from the American retail battlefield. In 2025, Macy's accelerated its original downsizing plan, confirming the closure of at least 65 stores, with rumors swirling that dozens more could quietly shutter before year's end. Think about this. Macy's had over 840 stores in 2015. Today, less than half that. But this isn't just a business decision. It's the slow motion funeral of the American mall. Why? Because Macy's was the anchor. When they pull out, foot traffic crashes, restaurants close, small stores suffocate, and entire shopping centers become hollowed-out shells. Internally, Macy's is bleeding. Revenues fell from $25 billion to under $17 billion in just under a decade. Theft costs topped $300 million per year. Energy costs up 18%, rent up 22%, insurance premiums up 30%. Every number is screaming collapse. They've tried it all. Store within a store models, launching beauty brands, off-price clearance lines, even renting out parts of their square footage to other retailers. Nothing stuck. Because the consumer has moved on. Nobody's wandering 250,000 square feet for dress pants anymore. People want fast, digital, discounted, and delivered. Even holiday shopping, the one-time Macy's used to shine, has moved online. And let's talk symbolism. When Macy's leaves your mall, it's not just another closure. It's a message. You don't matter anymore. Because once Macy's leaves, it rarely comes back. Malls were built around them. Families made memories inside them. When Macy's dies, a part of retail America dies with it. What replaces it? Nothing but dust, silence, and liquidation signs. A flagship with no fleet. A parade with no audience. A legend, crumbling in real time. 3. Walgreens. If you grew up in a U.S. neighborhood, odds are a Walgreens was there. On the corner, 24/7, always open for last-minute medicine, snacks, or a flu shot. But that reliability is now crumbling. Walgreens is planning to close 2,150 stores by 2027, nearly a quarter of all its U.S. locations. And while it's been slowly shutting stores for years, 2025 is when the pace turns from restructuring to retreat. Why? Because the business model is breaking apart from the inside. Prescription margins, once the bread and butter of pharmacies, are imploding. Insurance reimbursements have dropped 15%, while labor costs jumped over 20%. The average Walgreens makes only cents on the dollar per prescription, and now those cents are disappearing. Add to that a theft epidemic. Store managers report that organized shoplifting gangs are looting high-value items daily, with losses so high that entire stores operate at a deficit. In cities like San Francisco, Seattle, and Chicago, dozens of locations have already shuttered, creating pharmacy deserts where people must drive 10+ miles just to pick up insulin or antibiotics. And it's not just crime and profit margins. The future customer has moved on. Millennials and Gen Z? They're getting prescriptions filled on Amazon Pharmacy using Capsule or signing up for delivery with telehealth bundles. The brick-and-mortar pharmacy no longer serves the tech-forward patient. Meanwhile, Walgreens is buried under $34 billion in debt, bleeding cash, and exiting entire markets. This is no longer a red flag moment. It's a death spiral. And the irony? Healthcare. Demand has never been higher. But the chain designed to serve America's health is now withdrawing from the very communities that need it most. Walgreens isn't just closing stores. It's creating a healthcare crisis in real time. 2. Amazon Fresh. You heard that right. The company that killed retail is now closing its own stores. Amazon Fresh, once heralded as the future of groceries, is freezing expansion and shutting down locations across California, Illinois, and Virginia. Plans for hundreds of new stores? Canceled. And the stores they did build? Many are closing before they even hit profitability. The problem? Groceries aren't gadgets. They run on brutal margins, 1 to 3% at best. Add in inflation, theft, and labor costs. And even Amazon's billion-dollar algorithms can't make the math work. The Just Walk Out technology, once hyped as revolutionary, is quietly being ripped out. Maintenance costs soared past $10 million per store, glitches frustrated customers, and employee satisfaction plummeted. Even worse,